So now I have just this confident way of we're going to work together and we'll be successful, or we're not going to work together. And that's helped change, and not alone. Don't ever walk the entrepreneurial journey alone. I have very powerful community, tribe, referral partners, networking groups that helped coach me when I was like, I can't increase my prices 3x or 5x. What are you, crazy? Who am I to do that? But guess what? I did just that.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues, the podcast where we interview business owners on how they built their businesses and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is David Swin, and I'm a business coach and the founder of Purple Circle, where we help business owners achieve their first 6-figure, 7-figure, and 8-figure year, all without sacrificing their quality of life. Before becoming a business coach and before founding Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7- and 8-figure coaching businesses and have been a consultant at several businesses doing over $100 million each, including some that are publicly listed and doing over $1 billion each. In every episode of the podcast, you're going to learn lessons that took our guests years to learn, and you'll be able to learn that in minutes. No matter if you're a new business owner or an established business owner, every episode is going to give you the clues in order to elevate your business.
Welcome to Success Leaves Clues podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Jen Halpern, founder of Soft Sell Coaching, where she helps sales teams and leaders build trust-driven, human-centered selling skills. Jen brings an unusual background to the sales world. She spent years working as a dairy farmer before moving to executive technology sales, and now translates those leadership lessons into a keynote on soft skills she's delivered at events across the entire country. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you, Pedro. I am excited to be here.
Okay, great to have you. Jen, a side note from myself, I'm kind of a comic book nerd, okay? So I love the first editions, the origin stories. So I'd love for us to rewind a bit because, could be doing so many things with your life. You could be a plumber, you could be a dairy farmer, right? But you're here now coaching. So can you walk me through that decision? Why coaching, and how does it look like today?
So I'm going to answer it in this way. 21 years in corporate America as a sales rep for SaaS software sales. And in that time, Pedro, I had 18 bosses, literally. So 18 bosses in 21 years. For example, year one as a business development rep years ago, I had a different sales manager every quarter. So in 21 years in corporate America, I was exposed to 18 different leadership styles. And about 14 were neutral to different levels of just bad, even to toxic. But of the 4 that were excellent, what set these 4 managers and leaders apart is they, with intention, developed me. They understood the importance of developing their people, coaching their people, coaching their skills, coaching their will, coaching attitude, coaching scenarios. And that was a game changer. The reps that received consistent coaching by their leaders, guess what? They stayed longer, they performed better, they were the quota achievers and the President Club attendees. So that's what I got to experience.
Okay. You're making a differentiation here because a lot of people like in the space consider training as coaching, but you're very precise on the coaching, right? You were coached by 4 managers. Can you tell us the difference between being trained by a manager and being coached by a manager?
Excellent. Yes. Thank you for the question. So say you and I are working on a specific deal or account strategy, and I'm your manager. I'm going to tell you when the customer or the prospect or the client says this, you're going to say this, and here's why. And now let's practice. So I'm going to train you on how to do discovery or prospecting, and hopefully use role play, use a specific set of questions, use a process. So I'm training you on the steps. That's different than, now let's talk about your confidence. Let's talk about how to become a world-class listener. Let's talk about your pace, your energy, the way in which you're speaking. Teaching you awareness of how often you're interrupting your customer or your prospect, and to embrace the power of the pause. So training is really all very specific to skills, and coaching, in my view, is to the will and the attitude of the human. They definitely
Got it.
cross, but they're distinctly different. So as a sales leader, I would have training for my reps and then coaching sessions. They're distinctly different
Got
in
it.
my view. Yeah.
Love the differentiation. Okay. It makes sense to me. One is more, it sounds more like tactical. The other is a little bit more behind purpose, the why, understanding the real motivation behind your actions, right? And even people are not even aware of what they're doing sometimes. Okay. Love
That's
that.
it. Yes. I'm going to add one more thing. I love that you chose the word tactical for the training and behavioral for the coaching.
Okay. Now, 6 years in the game for soft sell coaching, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that part I love to know a little bit more about. You know, the leap of faith. Let's call it like that. The start
Mm.
of the entrepreneurial journey, right? So how did that look like for you? Because in the early days for a lot of coaches out there, it starts with I'm helping people, I'm giving advice here and there. I have some reps there like asking me, how do I do stuff, you know? And eventually we go from that to I'm building a real business around this. This is actually a thing, you know, I'm building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like an identity shift. And my question to you is what made it click for you? Like that you realize you're building a real business around this. Was it like the first paying client? Was it like the first invoice that you felt validated that this was really a thing, you know?
Mm. I think it was when I got my tax EIN number. Seriously, that, and then a need for a business credit card. I was like, holy sugar, I actually have a business. A few steps before that, when I was a VP of sales for a software company, I had a previous boss hit me up and say, do you have bandwidth to help me do some sales hiring, sales onboarding, and sales coaching? So I was doing this at the same time to help a leader that helped develop me. And then when I exited corporate, I had a paying client. And I didn't know till later how unique and precious that is. Because often when you say, now I'm an entrepreneur, and you begin, now I need to go find clients. Now I need to go build. Now I need to go network. But to leave corporate America and have one paying client, um, and then just further sort of drama, when COVID hit, this client could no longer afford to pay me and make payroll. But because we had such a powerful history, um, we agreed, don't pay me now and true up in the future when you can. So I was able to continue to help him sustain his business. And then he trued up with me 2 years later. And from that, he sent me several referrals, and with consistent networking, intentional networking, along with referrals, that is what enabled me to survive and then grow and then thrive.
Okay. And after you got rolling, right? You mentioned that you had a paying client already, and but who are the people that kept showing up? You know, because in 6 years, I imagine it could be or not an evolution of who you serve, right? Sometimes we sharpen the blade. We tend to attract like down the stages. We tend to attract people that are like the ones we can actually help more, you know. But in the early days, it's not really like that. Sometimes we're trying to help everyone, right? So my
Mm-hmm.
question to you is the evolution of the avatar, the ideal client profile you were serving from or day one, and who do you serve now?
Thank you for the question. I'm smiling because I'm reflecting back at all the bad decisions and epic fails as a result of saying yes to everybody, being industry agnostic and revenue agnostic and number of sales teams irrelevant. And as a result of that, there were two particular engagements that I took on, two 12-month engagements that I had no business doing, that I was underwater because it was such a steep learning curve, ineffective. So through painful fails and lessons learned, that's what helped me go from I can coach any sales team in any industry at any level on anything to much more specific with intention and the confidence to say thank you, I'm not your girl, I'm not a fit, and let me make introductions for people who may be a better fit. So through the painful lessons and experience leads to wisdom and the confidence to ask better questions.
Okay. And if you had a pin,
Juicy.
please. Yeah, no, if you had to pinpoint exactly right now, what would you say? Who do you say would be your avatar right now?
Right now, sales leaders. So a sales leader could be a sales director, a VP of sales, a chief revenue officer. It could also be a VP of global sales enablement. So it's a leadership in sales, and it could be a leadership in sales enablement. Uh, the difference that I've learned is that their culture and these humans must be open to accountability and making change and participating in all the coaching sessions. And if that's not important to them, then again, I'm not your girl. Example, I had a client who said, yeah, I want to bring you in. I want you to make my salespeople better, make us all hit quota, and then we're out and they'll just keep going. But he did not want to participate at all. And so I said, we're not a fit. If there's no accountability and buy-in at leader level, it will fail, whether it's now or later. And then that's no good for me, my business. There's no impact to the client I serve. It's only a negative.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So game of pretend here, real quick.
Okay. I love
I'm gonna be a sales leader. Okay. I'm your avatar. I'm that guy, Pedro. Mm-hmm. And first of all, how would I be able to find you, Jen? I mean, marketing wise.
Referrals. Today, 100% of my business is referrals. Period. End of. I am inconsistent on LinkedIn. I am consistent with my intentional networking. Referrals.
Okay. So I was like talking with the buddy, and he was like, dude, you gotta meet Jen. She's great. I'm like, okay. So I reach out, right? I look at your stuff out there, like LinkedIn, even if it's inconsistent. I'm like, okay, she exists. And I'm gonna reach out. I'm like, hey, Jen, name's Pedro, would love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. We go through the sales process, and we can speed up a little bit. I understand that has to be alignment, right? You told me basically I have to be coachable in different words, but it's like I need accountability. I need to work on stuff. Okay. I'm like, okay, I'm green light there. Okay.
Okay.
Now, can you give me like a peek behind the curtain, an idea of how does it look like to work with your business and the outcomes I can expect?
Okay. So we're going to get together for a 12-month engagement. Okay. Step one is I'm going to do a deep dive with you, Pedro. I want to understand all about you as a leader, you as a human, and what your sales organization looks like. Who is performing well and why? Who's not performing and why? What would I hear if I'm listening to your recorded calls or observing meetings of your sales teams? What would my experience be? If I were to ask your colleagues and your team how to describe your leadership style, Pedro, what do you think they would say? So I have a whole series of assessment questions as our step one, which guides me to step two. I will share with you, we will sit down and look at the results from this, what I call a readout. And from there, I build our curriculum, our plan, our 1-year engagement. What does that look like? What are the skill topics we're going to cover, the frequency, the homework, the accountability, and the results we're going to expect. And we're going to have quarterly check-ins to see how we're doing, what's working, what's not working, where we need to shift. And we should be seeing difference in baseline where we started benchmarking every time we meet. And our ultimate goal is it could be to increase revenue. And if so, roughly by what? But really to increase revenue, to have a cleaner pipeline, to increase the number of meetings scheduled, meetings occurred, to increase the confidence of your sales teams, to have them with a lot more clarity on what their customers care about, how to walk through. So it could be a variety of things. Do we need to build a sales process? Do they understand? So I'll pause there.
Okay. Got it. So I have a couple questions for you. Okay. Well, first of all, I was in sales for a while, right? So
Yes.
yeah, high ticket sales closer, business coach, and all that. So I'm very curious about the topic. So let's
Okay.
go. Let's go with some questions. First question I have for you
Love
that
it.
I see a lot in the space in the service industry, basically, and coaching, consulting, is when we have someone who built their business and they're like in the need to do the handoff a little bit on the sales part. You know, the founder is used to close, but now he's too much in the weeds and needs to
Hmm.
step out and he needs to bring someone in. So, how do you manage that handoff? Because usually the closing rate from the founder is gonna be high, right? Because it's the face of the company. So, how do you manage that to for that handoff and to for it to be a smooth transition? Let's put it like that for a
Ooh.
closer.
Well, the goal will be a smooth transition, and we will also communicate about the unknown unknowns that are going to pop up. So I've had several clients that are founder led that know they need to pull themselves out and hire salespeople. And to say hire salespeople, that's two words, hire salespeople. So little, but huge, huge, heavy lift up front until you develop a process, a system, systematize it. It's going to be a combination of coaching the founder in the importance of letting go,
Mhm.
coaching the founder on the importance of how do we download what is up here to your sales team. Are we recording you? Are you documenting it? How are we going to systematize all of your information so that it becomes repeatable when you hire your first salesperson and we onboard them? Then, based on what I've seen, I recommend this new salesperson shadow the founder for at least 3 months as often as possible, possibly even 6 months. And I mean joined at the hip, 3 hours every day, 5 days a week. For example, that's not the reality, but you start with a firm ideal goal. And through that, mutual trust occurs between the founder and the sales team, and between the sales team and the prospects and the customers. But most of the work initially is coaching and training the founder, and then what that flow looks like.
Okay, love it. And sometimes this is my second question towards the topic. You mentioned, reviewing the entire sales process, and I've seen founders sometimes they're too focused on demos. They're too focused
Oh,
on their own stuff, and they
yeah.
they try to pass that, but they have a high close rate because at the end of the day they're the founder and all that. But it's not necessarily the right way of doing things, but it brings
Mm-hmm.
results.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're neutral, at least I think you might be on the same boat as I am. It's more about them than us, right? It's more about focusing on the prospect. And some founders I've seen they're like 15, 20 minutes, like demonstrations, demo calls, and all that. So, how do you talk someone through that? Like, hey, the sales team is trying to do the thing, but they're looking at the demo. That doesn't look like it's working, but for the founder, it is. How do you navigate that conversation with the founder? To like maybe ease up on the way you're doing things and trying
Mm-hmm.
a different route.
Yes. Words, like you just said, maybe ease up and try something different. But second to that, it's setting expectations. And thirdly, having the founder experience exactly what you just talked about. So, this is what I've done with my founder led clients. I will serve as the customer or prospect, and they will do their 30-minute shtick, spiel, presentation, demo for me. Okay. Then we do it again where I'm taking the lead so they get to experience the difference between them talking 70% as the founder in the sales mode and your prospect only talking 30%, and we flip it. So they get to experience me pausing after every slide, me asking, I demand, I encourage engagement. It's not about Jen, the founder. It's all about Pedro, my prospect. So it's a switch. It is a difficult transition. It's like building a brand new muscle, and it takes
Mhm.
time and repetition to learn to shut your mouth and open your ears, step into curiosity, asking, not telling, and really leaning into the power of the pause. Because, Pedro, when we can make others feel seen and heard and important, that's a game changer. How? By being a world-class listener and understanding how to ask meaningful, deeper questions. It's painful. It is a painful process for pretty much every client I support, I serve. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, not just in sales, right? But they're just not listening, just caring about what they're gonna say next,
They
right?
got a checklist. And
Yeah.
if you're trying to ask me questions from your checklist and I say, and then I answer it, how cool would it be if you paused and said, Jen, I just heard you say, what were you thinking? What did you hear that made you say, How do you think that's going to make you feel? Heard, seen, wow, this sales rep is really listening to me. And now we're beginning to build trust by having deeper, more meaningful, which gets me to uncover my pain and the reality of, do I have a need? It's listening. I think listening and asking questions separates the underperformers for the quota achievers, period.
Okay, love it. Now I have a question for you too, which
Sure.
is a classic one. Like I imagine you had a client like this. Like he calls you, he's like, my team is underperforming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you show up, you're there working, and you realize, Jen, the problem is not the team. They're either following a broken process or something is off here, but it brings back to leadership. The problem is the guy that hired you, but he was blaming them. So how do you navigate that conversation with the paying customer, right? That maybe
Mm-hmm.
he is not 100% right on his idea. You know what I mean?
Faux show. Thank you for the question. And part of this happens in our first pre-sales coaching potential. It's a pre-sales, I call it a connect conversation. This is our conversation before we've engaged in a proposal. And it's just part of my process to ask for examples in which you've been successfully engaged in a coaching scenario and tell me what worked and what failed. I want to hear about a good outcome and a bad outcome and what you've learned, because I've got to determine if you, the leader, are coachable. And secondly, I'm going to ask permission to give you feedback in this first conversation, because feedback is everything. It's both positive and it's constructive. And through this 1 hour, I'm going to be able to see, Pedro, your ego is bigger than I'm willing to take on. And I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to tell you why. Again, you gave me permission for feedback. And I'm going to ask you, how much of your team's poor performance is your responsibility? And how much of that are you willing to accept? And then I'm going to shut my mouth. Oh, it's not me. It's all, how they respond and react is telling. Versus, well, I don't know how to motivate them, so I need help. I don't know if it's my compensation, my incentive, the way I lead, the sales culture. I need help. That's going to help determine if we are a match.
Got it. Okay. Now I have a question for you. It's a two-folded one, and it's shifting gears for a second here. The first thing that comes up to mind is pricing, right? Which is a hot topic for both the topic and for you, like as a coach, the pricing your packages, but also in the sales process. And I'll develop that question. First of all, in the coaching side, the entrepreneur journey, right? We're not talking about hard numbers here. No, we don't need to talk about that. It's more about the mindset behind it, because at the end of the day, it's a self-worth path, right? It's they're paying for your time. So how do you think about it today? The pricing aspect. And were there any lessons along the way that shaped how you landed where you are right now?
Well, I think you summed it up beautifully, Pedro. Self-worth and imposter syndrome played heavy in my first 2 years as an entrepreneur. Who am I to try and coach and train a sales leader who's 20 years more experienced than me at a billion-dollar company? And once I work through that, because what I have observed is whether you're 3 million, 30 million, or over a billion, the sales problems and sales challenges with sales teams and sales leaders are similar. Not identical, they are often similar. And once I realized that and then what I can learn from every fail and mistake, that helps my confidence. And so now I have just this confident way of, we're going to work together and we'll be successful, or we're not going to work together. And that's helped change, and not alone. Don't ever walk the entrepreneurial journey alone. I have very powerful community, tribe, referral partners, networking groups that helped coach me when I was like, I can't increase my prices 3x or 5x. What are you, crazy? Who am I to do that? But guess what? I did just that.
Okay. Now, this is a question I have for I follow this guy, Blair Ends. I think he's from Canada. I love that guy, his content. But anyhow, in the coaching space, sometimes we're talking about high tickets, right? We're talking about a high price. And it's sometimes the pricing factor is something almost like a roller coaster of emotions for coaches when they should drop the price. So I've seen coaches doing minimum levels of engagement in their website, right? And I've seen coaches doing a second, like 2 call to drop a price, like say a discovery, then a sales call. So a lot of time wasted. But there's some people that are like, they don't want to be transactional on the website, or even they're afraid of losing a potential client because they're in their mind, they're thinking, I wasn't able to show value, before I dropped the price. So how do you think about that? I'm not sure. We don't need to go into your situation, but the pricing in the coaching industry is something that is like, oh my God, it sounds like people don't know exactly how to manage that. I would love to hear your take on it.
So I think a benefit for me is I have been in the business world. I came in through sales and then moved into specific coaching and sales training. And because I have natural sales savvy, sales skills, that's a game changer versus someone who maybe goes through coaching programs where they learn amazing coaching tools, skills, and framework. But do they learn how to ask for the close? How to say, what is our next step? Here's what it looks like for me. My next step is I'm going to send you a proposal that's going to include A, B, and C, which we just talked about. What is the next step on your end? Well, okay. So let's agree to talk 1 week from today, and we'll walk through the proposal together. Who else gets to be involved? Do you have other stakeholders, or is it just you? Can you sign it? It's the ability to ask those questions with confidence. And the biggest thing, Pedro, is knowing when to say, yeah, this is my price point. This is the value. It's the value that I bring that's going to improve your revenue and increase the performance of your sales teams. I will give you, I will never give, excuse me. And if you ask for a discount, I will be curious as to what's driving that question. But I never, ever drop my pants.
Okay, love it. That caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that analogy. Okay. Now, shifting gears for a second. Love that. Okay. The pricing, the confidence, and all that. Now, I'm curious about where you're taking all this future-wise, looking ahead. Where do you see the business going, Jen? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring? Or is there a next step you're excited about?
We were talking earlier. I live with rose-colored glasses. Like the lens to which I view and experience the world is optimism. So because of that, I pop up like toast, and I love and try and cherish and eat life. No desire to build, no desire to hire employees. I love what I do. For me, the impact that my clients receive then impacts me. So I want to continue that. And most of my clients at this moment are outside of my city. So the next cut for me is I'm laser focused on earning a couple of clients in my city so I can have more face-to-face time versus virtual, and continue to make an impact on humans while I'm on this world through my sales coaching and sales training.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. And of course, whenever we're building something, right, there's always something we're refining in the present. So what are you kind of trying to improve or tighten up in your business?
Embracing third-party resources when I know I've got no business doing it myself. So embracing third party. So for example, finally hiring a CPA firm to do my taxes and do all my bookkeeping because I'm terrible at it. And that's a painful and financial costly mistake. So hiring outsourced experts that are much better at it than me just banging my head against the wall and doing it poorly.
Okay. Love that. Okay. Now let's step into a little bit of a sci-fi territory here. Let's pretend we have a time machine in front of us, Jen. Okay. And we're going to have two stops. First stop, 6 years ago, you can go back in time when you open up shop, right? Soft sell coaching. And you can give past Jen one piece of business advice you wish you knew back then that you know now. Okay. What would that be?
Okay. Networking is critically important. Strategic networking, and it looks like this. And not even just networking. When you are meeting with and talking with other humans, the importance of showing interest in them. So for example, instead of saying, so Pedro, what do you do? I would ask, Pedro, what is something that you're working on right now or doing that you love? Or who were you in high school? Questions that are different, that are memorable, that show you have confidence and you are interested in what's in it for them, the person in front of you. So the confidence to be curious about other people. I think curiosity is, it enables others to feel heard and seen. So I would tell myself, be curious as often as possible and ask curiosity questions as often as possible. That's what I would tell my 6 years ago self.
Okay, interesting. Now, second stop. You can go back in time in between those 6 years time frame. You might have more than one moment of those, but I want the top of mind moment. Okay, it's one of those moments that you're reflecting back when it happened. You were like, "Oh, this is why I started this." You know, it's a fulfilling moment from your entrepreneur journey when you started a coaching practice. What moment would that be?
When, and this is very present right now, when there are several faces that are in my head right now because they all had a powerful aha moment as a result of working together, doing sales training and sales coaching, where they took that and they implemented it and they saw a change in their sales team's confidence, and then their performance increases. That when you see your clients have that aha moment and then they go implement it and they see the change, it gives me goosebumps just to discuss, just to talk about it. That is very powerful every time. Never get tired of it. It's a gift.
Okay. Love that. Okay. Now, let's wrap it up with one piece of business advice I would love for you to give to coaches out there. They're icky about sales because they have no sales background. They were, burned in the past by terrible sales reps that just pushed them through something. And whenever they're trying to sell their stuff, they're like, I hate it, right? There's a lot of coaches out there like that. So if you had to summarize in one advice for them to see in a different lens what sales is all about, what would that be?
Replace the word sale with serve and solve. It's our limiting beliefs around a story about a word or a concept. Sale is a 4-letter word. So is love. Right? It's so much of it is a story we create in our own mind. And you've got to push through that with conversational curiosity and practice the questions that are important to you to get the deal closed out loud. So role play. So replace sale with serve and solve, and practice your questions, how to ask for the business, how to ask for their timing. Why is their timing 3 months from now versus 3 days from now? Do it out loud.
Love that. Complete. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, Jen, and we're going to have all the links in the description, but where can people find you best to connect with you?
my website, my LinkedIn profile, and I put my mobile out there. Freaking text me, pick up the phone, and make a call, and reach out. We're still human to human. That would be it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There were a few moments from this chat today that really stayed with me. I'm going to highlight them really quick. Okay. Let's go back to the origin story. 21 years as a sales rep with 18 different managers. Oh my God, why didn't they promote you, Jen? What the hell? I think it's almost like a curse for a good salesperson, right? It's like it's never going to promote them because they want to keep them there producing, right? So there's that. But I get that. I had some buddies that felt like that in their skin because 18 different managers, come on, right? At least 4 of those were great. So kudos to the 4 of them that actually coached you. Okay.
Yes.
And when we were talking about the identity shift from a, employee, corporate America to business owner, you're like, yeah, I mean, my tax and my business card, right? So I love those moments because it is an identity shift in a way, right? It's almost like when I was in corporate too here in Brazil, banking and then consulting firm. It's like I'm used to reply to people in birthday parties, what I do for a living, and then you're in that transition. You're like, I'm not sure what to respond here because am I a coach? Is this a real job? Am I going to be able to make with this or not? So that period or that transition is very unique. I'll put it like this, right? Now, also, when we were talking about clients from hell, at least 2, right? They have to be coachable. But I get it. It's easy to say like, oh no, I just want to work with premium and blah, blah, blah. And have to go. But bills are knocking on the door, right? Let's be honest. Sometimes we got to make it and we don't make the best decisions. But eventually we learn, right, down the path, and that happened to you. So that's great. And last but not least, when I was talking about pricing with you and you brought up the first year, right? Imposter syndrome. Who am I to charge X, Y, and Z from people who are 20 years in the game? So it's good that talking to you now, you realize you're just in front of yourself and that people need help, and the problems, there's a pattern to it, obviously, and you can help them. Great. Okay. Now, this is just my long-winded way of saying that I appreciate what you do, Jen, and I appreciate you being here and sharing so openly today. It was great having you on.
Thank you for having me, Pedro. I enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
That's it for this episode. This episode, as well as this podcast, was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help business owners elevate their business to 6, 7, and 8-figure years, all without burning out. If you're looking to grow your business, as well as get the time freedom that you are looking for, visit us at joinpurplecircle.com and see what we can do to help you and your business.